In 1862, a Mexican field worker strikes a buried stone face. He is clearing green sugarcane near the warm Gulf Coast. At first, in the dark soil, he thinks he hit an iron pot. So he digs around it, expecting some buried treasure. Buried in dark mud, two carved eyes stare straight up. It is a colossal human face cut from solid rock. The full lips and flat nose sit in cold gray rock. Largest part of it stands taller than the man beside it. This single face weighs several tons of dense stone. Nobody on the plantation can say who made it. Word spreads, and a curious scholar rides out and stares. He sketches the dark giant and calls its features broad. For decades, this lonely relic, half lost, is ignored. Then, in the 1930s, many more begin to appear. Diggers watched a second giant visage surface in mud, then a third and a fourth, each with different features. 17 colossal heads have now been found in total. Your skin prickles as you feel watched by blank eyes. Each one looks like a real and specific person. None of the 17 share the very same face. Largest weighs as much as 6 family cars. Biggest of them rises over 3 meters tall. Most massive of them weighs close to 40 tons. One slip while moving, it could crush a man flat. Yet the people who made them had no metal at all. None of them owned wheels, iron, or a single dark ox. So who could carve and move such impossible stone? The makers are the Olmec, Mexico's first great culture. Oldest civilization in Mesoamerica, older than the Maya. They rose over 3,000 years ago by the warm coast. Their cities stood at San Lorenzo and later La Venta. They farmed maize, fished the rivers, and traded widely. They shaped green jade, raised mounds, and watched the stars. Historians call them the mother culture of the region. Much of what came after borrowed from Olmec ideas. But they left no books, no letters, only silence. Everything we know is dug slowly from the dark, wet earth. And what they left most of all are these giant heads. Never before had a people carved portraits this large. Each one may show a real Olmec ruler's face. The headgear looks like a snug leather helmet or cap. Some think it was watched, worn in a rough ball game. Others say it marked a king above ordinary people. Whatever it meant, every helmet is a different dark shade. The faces frown, squint, or set their jaws hard. They feel less like gods and more like men we watched. Somebody wanted these exact faces remembered forever. Lost to us are the names once spoken here. The Olmec faded and their spoken language vanished. Later, peoples forgot the vanished hands that carved them. For centuries, the relics slept under dark leaves and soil. Lost and forgotten, they waited to be found again. Then came the hardest riddle of all, the stone itself. Each head is cut from a single block of basalt. Basalt is a heavy, dark, volcanic rock, brutally hard to work. The nearest source is a distant range of old volcanoes. Those mountains lie far inland from the Olmec cities. The stone had to travel dozens of miles to the towns. Some blocks were dragged as far as 50 long miles. Others may have come from 90 miles away. 90 miles with no cart and no real road at all. Picture hauling a rock through green swamp and jungle. First, they somehow freed the block from the mountainside. They had only gray stone hammers, wooden levers, and rope. Most likely, they dragged it on sledges of rolling log. Teams of men pulled together across the soft ground. One wrong step, and the block destroyed all beneath it. Where rivers ran, they may have floated the heavy stone. A raft of dark logs can carry a weight water hides. But loading tons onto a raft is deadly, delicate work. Lose your grip, and the whole raft collapsed into water. Somehow, they crossed green swamp, river, and forest. Then they hauled it up onto dry village ground. Every mile cost weeks of sweat from bare, dark hands. None of them had oxen or horses to share the load, so every single ton moved on bare human muscle. Hidden in that effort is a staggering feat of order. Someone planned the route, the teams, the dark camps. Feeding hundreds of haulers took whole harvests of maize. This society could command real armies of patient labor. Moving the stone alone proves how organized they were. And moving, it was only the beginning of the work. Now the hardest task began, carving the dark face. None of them owned a single blade of iron, only harder hammerstones and an ocean of patience. A worker strikes the gray block again and again. Tiny flakes chip away with every patient blow. Over long weeks, a rough, dark face slowly takes shape. The brow, the cheeks, and the heavy lips emerge. Then they grind the surface smooth with sand and water. Harder stones polish the basalt to a faint, dark sheen. The finished dark face looks almost startlingly alive. Every curve had to be judged by eye alone. None of it followed a drawing or a written page. Just raw skill passed from master down to apprentice. Largest heads took many long months of steady labor. A single relic could fill a workshop for 12 months. Each strike risked cracking the whole precious block. Destroyed by one crack, a year of work was lost. Yet somehow, again and again, they still succeeded. The dark faces are astonishingly balanced and true. Left and right sides mirror each other closely. For simple hand tools, that precision is remarkable. Some heads even show real human quirks and flaws. A drooping eye here, a broken tooth there. These feel like portraits of men once watched here. Never had ancient stone been made this personal. Somebody carved these men to outlast an empire that would collapse. For 3,000 years, the dark stone held their faces. Gray rain, root, and flood could not wipe them away. Buried in mud, they survived where whole cities fell. That endurance is its own kind of quiet message. Still, the deepest question has no clear answer. Why carve giant faces, then bury them in the dark? Some heads were dragged into deep pits on purpose. Others were defaced, destroyed, or turned face down, buried deep in dark pits, as if to end their power. Maybe a ruler's likeness fell and was retired with him. Maybe a new king erased the face of the old. Or maybe the stone was simply reused for later work. We can guess, but the Olmec never wrote it down. Their silence is what keeps the mystery alive. Naturally, wilder ideas rushed in to fill the dark gap. Some claimed the faces proved lost visitors from afar. Others tied them to Atlantis or vanished sky people. A few even said they fell from outer space. None of it survives a single honest dig. The tools, the gray dust, and the workshops are here. Half-finished heads still sit in the ancient quarries. They were carved by real hands you can almost see. The wonder is not aliens, but people this capable. Stone Age farmers who quietly moved dark mountains of rock. Impossible on paper, yet plainly done in solid stone. That is the true marvel of the colossal heads. 17 faces, each a person and each a puzzle. Only a handful of clues survive to read them by. Lost to time are the men these faces show. We can measure the dark stone to a single millimeter, but their meaning still slips through our fingers. Today, a few heads rest in quiet, cool, gray museums. Visitors stand small beneath those calm, heavy eyes. Largest ones are far too heavy to move safely, so they still sit where the Olmec once left them. Out in the green lowlands, half sunk in shadow. Gray rain still runs down the same carved cheeks. Buried once, uncovered now, they watch us in turn. Nobody can tell you the name behind the dark face. Nobody can say the last word they were meant to speak. The Olmec carved their answer and then went quiet, leaving us to guess at people we barely see. 17 colossal heads, all shaped by patient hand. Vanished makers left them, moved without a single wheel. Impossible as it sounds, and yet undeniably real. Real, solid, and waiting in the dark Mexican earth. Giant stone faces that simply shouldn't be possible. You can still stand before them where they were found. In the green lowlands of Mexico, the heads remain, staring up, exactly as that first worker found them, buried once in a cane field, and never fully explained. Next, the tomb older than the pyramids that catches one sunbeam a year.